Good afternoon once again. Here we are for the second session. And for today's session, we have Dr. Yatish Joshi. He'll be speaking on the topic different approaches to research. And now talking about Dr. Joshi. Dr. Joshi is currently working as an assistant professor at School of Management Studies, Motilal Nehru National Institute of Technology, Allahabad. He's actively involved in teaching at MNNIT, Allahabad in marketing, analytics, and research subjects. He has also teaching. He has also taught as visiting faculties for various reputed institutes in marketing and analytics domain. He has completed his PhD in sustainable consumption and marketing from the Department of Management Studies, IIT Roorkee. Dr. Joshi has diversified job experience in leading banks and educational institutions. Dr. Joshi interdisciplinary research focuses on pressing issues regarding sustainable consumer behavior. He consistently publishes research articles in first-tier scientific journals, including outlets which top important rankings such as prestigious UK Chartered Association of Business School, CABS, the French CNRS ranking, the Australian ABDC list of management journals, and the Web of Science, SCI, and SSCI listed journals. Dr. Joshi regularly reviews articles from various prestigious journals and book publishers. He is also the recipient of Emerald Literary Network Awards for Excellence 2017. Dr. Yatish Joshi is also a PhD thesis examiner for the University of New England, Armidale, Australia, and South Cross University, Lismore, Australia. He is also the project evaluator for Swiss National Science Foundation. He has also acted as a resource person for various training programs at the Institutes of National Importance and Government Training Institutes. So, Dr. Joshi, I welcome you all in this TTP program for the second session, and I would request you to share your expertise with all the people over here, all the faculties, all the scholars who are attending this. Over to you, sir. So, your voice is not audible, if you can. So, your voice is still not audible. So, your mic is not on. That's why you are not audible. Just give me a second, sir. So now if you can try.
Perfect. Now I think I'm audible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Shubhi, for the introduction. I think because of the size of the call, the mic was muted and I was not able to turn it on from my side. Okay. Thanks everyone. So today we will be having a session on different approaches to research. That how because this entire program is about the research methodology, right? And the different kinds of tools, techniques, and the research purpose. And it has really a great initiative by the organizing bodies and the host institute to really come up with such a wonderful event. I'm sharing my slides and then we will start having a discussion on research, right? Okay, so I hope my slides must be visible to all of you. Is it visible? If anyone can confirm, I can proceed further.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So guys, whenever we talk about research, there's a lot of different kinds of research which happens, right? Many of you are faculty members on a various institutions or the research scholars, and you yourself are involved in a different kind of a research. And primarily, whenever we talk about the research approach, we basically decide what should be the plan, what should be the procedure, how we should go about this research, whether we should go for some sort of empirical data collection, or we should observe something, or maybe we should some sort of a inductive, logical reasoning, or maybe the deductive logical reasoning, right? The different kinds of tools then you assimilate. So whenever we talk about a research approach, it's basically, you can say some sort of a concept plan and procedures, and which are based on some broad assumptions, right? Because if you see the research, especially when we talk about the management and the social science research, it has evolved over the period of time, right? And the scientific research is there since ages, where people used to do some sort of a scientific investigation in a laboratory, maybe in a form of an experimental method, and a lot of inventions and innovations has happened with that. However, the human research, or we can say when we are researching about the people, their expressions, their observation, it has started a bit late, when it has been realized that it is necessary to understand the human and their behavior on a various different kind of a social science domains, right? So so ideally, it you can say a sort of a plan and procedure, and for the research that we should go about it, which based on some of the basic assumptions of the research, of the theories, right? And then it further describes the data collection and this is an interpretation method. Now, the idea is that how or which kind of a research we should use. So this basically comes from, some sort of a philosophical assumptions, right? So we will discuss about it one and one. So basically, when we are talking about the research approaches, we have three kind of research approach, right? When we are talking in terms of the reasoning or the logically, then it is two types, which we will discuss later, inductive and deductive. But when we are talking about, the conducting the research or the way we are doing it, so basically we define research approaches into the three types. One is quantitative, that is the numerical base, where the numbers are involved, right? Where we are, whatever we are observing, we are translating into some sort of a numbers. Qualitative is more like, observations, where we are really trying to go deeper into the human psychology, try to understand why a person behave in a way in which they do, right? And it is, not purely defined on numbers, but here we have to do a lot of different kind of studies to go for that. And then we have mixed methods. So whenever we talk about mixed method, it is like it's the combination of quantitative and qualitative. See, the mixed method has developed somewhere around 1980, right? So we have quantitative methods since ages. Then the quali started somewhere. It is there, but in the popularity started somewhere after the First World War, where it has decided to go observe and see, how the different kind of the things are happening, and how this the particular event has affected the economies across the world, right? It was still there, and if you look at so many theories which has come up because of this different kind of a qualitative research, right? You talk about science. We all teach all these theories like scientific principle management theory, Maslow need hierarchy theory. Uh, so all these theories has evolved from the research and obviously from the qualitative research, right? And see, we have to understand one thing, right? Because I often used to take lectures across the world, you can say, on a different kind of a domains. And one time I was taking a lecture on this topic, on a different research topic on some of the organizations, and where the people are like, sir, for a teaching, research is good, but what is its implication when we are talking about the research? What are the implications of research for teaching? So you can see all the theories which are in our textbook. Whether we talk about whether you are teaching the marketing, you have heard about consumer buying behavior theory. You are teaching HR, you have heard about Maslow need hierarchy theory, or when we are teaching general management, scientific principle management theory. All the theories that we teach, they all have derived from the research papers only, which has been originated from some of the researchers. So knowledge creation is the job of a research, and then knowledge dissemination is the job of a teacher, and they both the things are clubbed together to provide the domain knowledge. So qualitative is like when we are really looking going deeper into the cause, and we are not only relying on some sort of a survey or some sort of a quants. We will discuss them later. Mixed method is like, it has it become more and more popular after 1950, and especially you can say 1960, when it has been idealized that we should reach to the root of the problem, to the deeper part of the problem, and we should use any method which is there, right? So they say that the qualitative and quantitative approach, they should not be seen as a very two different kind of approach. Like they should be seen like a sort of a continuum where both the tools or both the techniques should complement each other. The quali, if we feel that we need to do both kind of a research, maybe we can start with the qualitative approach, then we can go with the quantitative approach, or maybe we can start with the quantitative approach and then we can further go for the qualitative approach, right? So they both are complementary to each other. Now, how this research has come up, right? So you see, basically whatever we do, in a society, we are affected by some sort of a worldviews, right? That means some sort of our belief or some sort of our some sort of a directions, because on the basis of which we take certain actions or we start our research, right? So firstly we need to understand these philosophical worldviews which are central to a different kind of a research. Okay, so the first one is post-positivist. So before that, we have this positivist. So the positivist research basically says that we need to look for the absolute truth, right? So that was like when we are looking for the scientific type of research. Scientific type of research means where we are really looking to the, working on a particular problem, trying to go deeper, trying to find it out what is the reason. So the idea is to we can look for the absolute truth, right? That the Earth revolves around sun. So this concept has been come up, after when the mankind, the scientists has really noticed this thing. Earlier we have different kind of a context on the basis of the different kind of the belief systems, right? So the worldwide assumptions, basically when we talk about and why it is important to study, because this is like a, you can say, the history of research, how the research has evolved and what are the basic kind of assumptions that we take in a research and we go for it. So worldwide assumptions, you can say, or sometimes okay. So the worldwide assumptions or world views. If someone has kept their mic on or something. Am I audible, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So
Yes,
the
yes.
worldview assumptions, basically a basic set of beliefs that guides our action. So they can also be said as some sort of a philosophical orientation, right? About the world, that how what the world is, and what is the nature of research, and what the researcher or us bring to the study. For example, some of when we talk about the scientific research, some of the scientific research are more like going deeper into and finding out the absolute truth. Some of the scientific research are more focused on identifying the cause and effect relationship, that why this thing is happening, maybe because of some of the reason, and we are supposed to find out the reason, right? Some of the scientific research are only and only focusing on presenting the fact. Okay, whatever is happening, we are just supposed to we are just supposed to collect the data and present the facts in front of the population or in front of the audience, right? For example, when you are conducting a survey and you are measuring customer satisfaction, let's say, or you are measuring employee retention, right? So here your idea is to come up with the facts. What is the customer satisfaction rate? What is the employee retention rate? Or so your research may be limited to this thing only, which is like presenting only the facts, or it can be like from these facts then you are driving the reason, right? What can be the reasons or what can be the conclusions? You can further talk to the people. So there can be different natures of the research which you want to do, right? And for that you need to have some sort of a philosophical orientation about how the entire things works, how this entire things function. So the worldview is something which has developed the orientation of the various researchers, whether you talk about Taylor, whether you talk about Maslow, whether you talk about earlier theories such as Karl Marx and so on, which have observed the people, like, right? So all these things come up with some sort of worldviews which are based. So now when we are talking about the worldviews, these are the four worldviews. One is post-positivism, one is constructivism, one is transformative, one is pragmatism, right? So the positivism. That is the first type of a worldview. Now, what is worldview? Please be clear to that. Some sort of a belief that guide our action, right? And some sort of your assumptions about the world, that what the world is, how it functions, what is the job of a research, what can be the nature of the research, and what we are going to contribute to it, right? So our general orientation, our general thinking about the research. So the post-positivist, which is the first one, it says that there must be some cause which are affecting the outcomes. So we are more prone to determine the reason, the cause. What is the reason why this effect is happening? If the customer satisfaction is more, what is the reason behind that? Why the customers are more satisfied or less satisfied? So one reason or the other reason, right? So here we need to identify the causes which affect the outcomes. It is also reductionist in the intent. That means here the job is to reduce the ideas into a small set, which then come up as a hypothesis and then come up as a research question. So, for example, why this why the car sales are going up right now, right? So there can be n number of ideas, 10, 15, 20, 30. Then you will reduce them into 5 or 6, and then on the basis of that you will create your hypothesis, and then you will ask. So now you can see here the nature is like we have to identify the cause and effect relationship. We are prone to determine the cause, right? So this theory says that we cannot, our assumption is like we cannot really explore the notion of truth, the real truth, right? But we need to find out the cause. What is the cause? What is the reason, right? So here, so you can see because of this, because we are looking to find out the real reason, and the real reason is something which can be measured. So only quantitative things can be measured, right? Qualitative things is difficult to measure because it is left to interpretation, right? For example, if I am, if I am after my lecture, suppose you rate me. So one way is like you can rate on the quantitative parameters from 1 to 10, right? So this is like an absolute measure. Or one is like acha tha, it was good, it was really good, it was bad, it was poor, it was average, it was marginally good, right? So these things are left to interpretation. So the qualitative research is left to interpretations. So here, this post-positivist says, this theory says that yes, we have to be determination. That means we have to identify the cause. What is the real cause? What is the real reason? We need to reduce the abstract idea into some smaller ideas which are really useful, and then we have to do some sort of empirical observations, and then we have to do the theory verifications, right? So here the idea is to verify a theory, right? Different kind of theories are there, and then you are supposed to verify it. So this is one view of looking at the things. This thing is happening. See, whenever you guys also try to do the research, or we all try to do the research, right? Our views are also different, right? For example, if I'm looking at a problem, for example, if I work, suppose if I'm working on a quantitative problem, my views will be like, okay, why this particular thing is happening? If the electric vehicles are sold by the government, why still the sale of electric vehicle is not that much? Maybe the people might not be aware, or maybe they have some doubt about the quality of the product, or maybe the distribution system is not up to the mark, or it need to improve, right? So there can be many reasons, and I'm looking to find out the cause. So this is my way of looking at the things, right? So this is my assumption, this is my orientation. So that is I think clear. So it's more suited for the when we are talking about the empirical research. Now when we are talking about the constructivist worldview, or when we are looking at the world as a, when we are looking, trying to connect the dots and trying to construct something, right? So social constructivists, which have come up with this worldview, they believe that any individual try to seek the understanding on the world in which they live and work, right? They try to get subjective meaning of their experiences, which can be different from one person to other person, right? And these, as you can say, these meanings are varied and multiple, leading the researchers to look for the complexity of views rather than narrowing meaning into a few categories or ideas. So here, the idea is to, we cannot quantitatively measure everything, right? How was the lecture? It depends on a lot of things. You can say lecture was really good, right? Or the lecture was really average. And why it was average? Because there was a lot of internet disconnection. So here, or one person may found the same lecture as a good, or same as a bad, or average, or marginally better, because of the different kind of reasons, right? So the constructivist worldview says wherever we live, we try to look at the things, we try to find it out the different kind of a meanings of a different kind of a words, right? And as we say in management research, or especially in management, right? we need to understand what is written between the lines, right? That means what is not said, what is not heard, what the consumer might not be responding to, right? So for example, if I float a survey, right, and I say, what is your opinion about buying a electric car? Now the survey is there, or do you feel that electric car should be bought because it helps in environmental protection? And if I ask it from some sort of a researcher, some sort of a customers, or I will float a survey, so most of the responses will be like yes, 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 right? Because everybody want to be socially good, right? Everybody want to be socially biased, right? Socially biased means they want to project their image which reflect them as a good one, right? So now if I'm doing this from the, let's say, the survey data, and if I have not educated the customers before that, any answer is okay, and you are not supposed to say only good things, right? So maybe I can get some real reasons. Whereas the constructivist view says we need to look the overall picture, whether the people has really buyed it, what are their expressions when they are saying this thing. We need to probe them, look at some sort of interviews where they ask one question, then again one question, then again one question, try to open up the person and to get the real things from the inside, right? What they really feel about it, right? So this constructivist worldview says the quantitative or the cause and effect is not that direct and simple which the earlier view have presented. So we need to look for these complex issues, the complexity of the ideas, and then we need to measure them, we need to observe them. Right now a lot of companies are coming with a different kind of eye tracking devices, right? Which can help in understanding the customer views. A lot of body language experts are involved in doing a different kind of research to know the consumer opinion when they are saying true, when they are really forced to give some good words, right, or good opinions and so on. So the constructive worldview, as you can see here, is understanding the people from the different dimensions, multiple participant meaning. That means each and word can have different things. We need to find it out what is the social and historical construction of that particular behavior, of that particular idea, right? And then it actually helps in theory generation. So for example, when the Maslow has developed a theory of Maslow need hierarchy, obviously he may have come up with a different kind of values which are important for an employee, right? It can be anything, and then he tried to understand the meaning in a different culture, different context, and then he classified them into these four different labels, right? Functional value, social value, and so similarly, now these are two views, right? Perfectly fine. When I'm doing the research, I can either think cause and effect relationship one side, or I can simply think, no, we need to go deeper down into the the mind of the people and try to find it out what is the multiple meanings, and on the basis of that I can do the research. The third thing is like transformative. Now try to understand here. The transformative means here we are talking about when we are trying to transform something. So it is happened, but then some researchers have also realized this kind of a research are really not the assumptions which are based are really not fruitful for the marginal section of the society, right? The marginal section of the society, can be the people, those who are socially oppressed, because of some political agenda or because of something or the other, right? So here, this is the transformative worldview. So it says that we also need to discount the factors such as the politics and political change agendas into the research, right? So here, the research is not really go to this cause and effect logically, or maybe going deeper. Here we also have to understand in collaboration with what is the power, justice, and political situation of that particular uh, market in which we are doing the study, and it should be change oriented, right? So, and it has, as you guys can really understand, it has really started when some of the social scientists, they thought that yes, we should do some specific research for the marginal section of the society, for the marginally oppressed people, and how we can, we need to do a proper research for them. So here, obviously, this power politics or things we need to understand, and obviously it can also not be understand going directly, on a quantitative research. Simply asking some questions and getting some, the 1, 2, 3, the scores and add them. It is not difficult. We have to broaden our lens. We have to look deeper into the picture. So here you can say the transformative research worldview is this kind of. And then talks about the pragmatism. Pragmatism is practical, right? This research says we need to reach to the problem and we have to solve the problem, whatever the method may be. So now, if you guys recall, and if you guys can see, in post-positivism, we say cause and effect, so empirical. Constructivism, we say we have to go deeper, so maybe, some other type of methods, not, mathematical. Transformative says we need to bring the power and politics also, and it is also more relied on, mathematical sides. Pragmatism is like combination of all these three. It says we have to reach to our objective, come what may, right? So here we are more centric to the problem rather than, centric to the worldview of post-positivism, that we should focus on cause, or we should focus on the real meaning of the real, how the people are really behaving, or we need to connect it with the power and politics. Here it is more action oriented, right? And it is like a real world practice oriented. So in reality, if we have to go deeper into a problem, we have to do any kind of things, right? So here pragmatic as a worldview arrived out of action, situation and consequences rather than the other conditions. And here so here, rather than focusing on method, we focus on the research problems, and then we can use all the different kind of approaches to understand the problem, right? So the idea is to reach to the conclusion, be more practical, and whatever the view that we adopt, we can go for it, right? So now all these views and all these philosophical worldviews, they decide what kind of a research approach that you use, whether you are going for the qualitative, quantitative, or mixed, right? So these are the assumptions, right? And they have been evolved over a period of time. There is a historical evolution of these different kind of worldviews, and on the basis of that, the nature of research in a social science or the management domain, or the nature of the things have changed over the period of time. Now, if you look for the research approaches based on the types, we have primarily three types of research approaches. One is quantitative, one is qualitative, and one is mixed method. Now, when we are talking about quantitative, right? So guys, whenever we are talking about the quantitative research, here we are more and more focused on some sort of numbers, right? And it says here we have some formal objectives, rigorous systematic process of generating the information. We do some sort of analysis. We try to identify the relationship among different kind of variables, and then we determine the effectiveness of treatment. So quantitative, which is that means here the consumer concern are expressed in some form of numbers, some form of quantitative variables, right? For example, what are the types? There are two types. One is experimental design, and second one is non-experimental design, and which is also known as the survey, right? So now let's talk about the survey research. So here it provides quantitative or numerical description of anything that you are asking from the consumer. So normally we ask about the different kind of a trend, different kind of a behavioral traits, different kind of consumer attitudes or opinion, right? And then we try to do it by studying a sample of that population. So survey is like you come up with a questionnaire, you design a questionnaire, and how we design a questionnaire, we try to come up with some proper questions. There is a way of doing it. Maybe you are going to study it in your later schedules, right? Scale development and all. And from the past literature, we come up with the questions and then we ask it from the respondents. Now, selecting these questions is very much critical for the effectiveness of this kind of a research method, right? Because if you see, here we are more concerned about, just a minute. Okay. So here we are more concerned about, you can say, the type of questions that we are asking. For example, if you want to ask a question like whether the consumer is happy with your product or not, right? So there can be 50 questions or 60 questions or 100 questions to ask this particular questions, right? Maybe you can observe them, look them whether if they are smiling with the product, or you can simply ask them, are you feeling satisfied after purchasing this product, or do you think this product is really useful, or whether this product excites you or not, or whether this product is really useful for you or not, right? So there can be n number of questions, right? But the idea is to, finally select few questions, because if you ask, if the number of questions are more, then the consumers may not answer them all, right? 100 questions आप अगर एक construct के लिए पूछेंगे, so it might be possible that people may not answer. So in that case, we need to be very careful about asking these questions. Now, survey research is like forming the questions, asking the questions, getting the responses, and then on the basis of these responses, then you can, extract your findings. Maybe you can simply describe them, use some descriptive stats that these are the percentage of the people who are satisfied, or these are the customer percentage of the people who are really not satisfied. Or maybe you can do further some sort of analysis, like different kind of a methods are there. You can build some hypothesis, some parametric or non-parametric test you may come up with. You can use correlation, regression, and you can come up with your finding. Now, basically, survey is of two types. One is cross-sectional and longitudinal. Cross-sectional is like, where we are collecting data only one point of time, right? And longitudinal, when we collect the data over the period of time, it's continuous collection of data in a different way, right? So for example, suppose you want to see whether your employees are happy, you can simply ask 2 or 3 questions today itself, and it is fine. Or if you really want to see, the happiness index of your employees, and you come up with a ratio of 1 to 10, and you can, various criteria, how happy you are with the, with your office premise, how happy you are with the HR policies, leave policies, so and so. You may ask today, you can ask after 3 months, you can ask after 6 months, right? And in the meantime, you can try to improve the process. So here you can see whether if the happiness index has really increased or decreased. So longitudinal means when we are doing the study or collecting the data more than one number of times from the same respondents, right? In a different time durations. So survey research is, is really useful. It's really used. However, obviously, there are some issues with this. The first issue is, as I have already explained, this is the type of questions that you are asking. You have to be, any researcher need to be very careful about, because there can be 100 questions which you can ask from a customers, right? So the questions that you are asking should really reflect what you intend to measure, right? The number of items should not be more. It should be ideally 2 or 3, or maybe if the construct is more, more comprehensive, then maybe you can go for more items. Items mean the questions that I'm talking about. So this is the first problem. The second problem which comes in a survey design is the, the response bias, right? Self-response bias. So for example, whenever I'm saying something to the consumers to fill for, or I'm asking for some sort of survey I floated, it has been seen that most of the times consumers will only give socially desirable answers. For example, if I say, do you think, that smoking is really bad for the society? And there I can see the responses like yes, highly agree, extremely agree. All the responses on the 9 or 10 side, because everybody want to project their image as a socially desirable person. But then why so many cigarettes are selling, right? So there might be some of the people, some of the respondents who may think otherwise. It's fine, it's a choice, right? It's our choice, and maybe it may, we know that it is bad for our health, but it is a choice. Whereas the majority of the people may be on the same notion that it is really bad. But if you look at the answers, you will get more and more socially desirable answers, socially favorable answers, which project a good image of the respondents, right? So now, what is the problem? We are not getting the true intent of the consumers, right? What really the true intent of the respondents, what really the respondents are saying. You, as a HR manager, you are floating the questionnaire in your organization, and most of the people say, yeah, we are really happy. The reason being because they want to project their socially desirable or socially favorable image. They might be afraid to say anything negative about them or so on. So to remove that, there's a lot of things that we have to be careful. First, we, you know, in many of these kind of researches, sometimes we avoid asking the name of the people, right? So that means so their anonymity can be ensured, right? Second, we need to ensure them, and we need to ensure in our research that data collected will be only and only used for the research purpose. It will not be individually centric. You are only concerned about the overall responses, and on the basis of that, you will conduct the data. Third, um, you know, uh, no answer is right or wrong, and all the respondents are requested to share their true opinions, what they really think about this particular situation, right? Whether this or not. And fourth, please do not copy it from others, because it doesn't mean anything, right? So, for example, when you sometimes it has been seen, you float the survey and the respondents will be like 7777 666 111, or in the case of student data, most of the times they copy it from each other, right? So these are the problems. So all this, when you are conducting a this longitudinal or the cross-sectional research with the online mode, so you are supposed to do two things. One thing is this: you need to put all the instructions regarding the survey, and so that they can follow the instruction. Second thing is there should be a random shuffling of questions, right? That means so that they should not be of make that frame of social desirability, right? Third, sometimes we reverse code the questions also. So the reverse code means we write in a opposite way. So for example, let's talk about the environmental protection, right? So one question is, we should buy the product which are good for the environment, right? So this is one question. And if I float this question, and the ratings can be 1 to 5. One is like extremely disagree, or disagree to, or strongly disagree, and 5 can be strongly agree. And if I float this question, 99% of the people will tick on this 5 marks. Yes, they all agree that we should buy the green products which are really good for the environmental production. Now, if I reverse code this thing, that I can simply reverse code is that we should buy the product which is good for us, because uh, it is from our hard-earned money, uh, and in the population, the environmental protection comes after it. Now, what we have done, the two questions are there, right? And the second question is somewhere reverse coded, and then you float it, and maybe you will see, you will get maybe the more responses on the second option. So here we have not, sometimes to reveal the true intent of the customers, of the participant, of the respondents of your data, you need to reverse code, right? Reverse code the question that we are asking to remove that bias. So these are when we are talking about the online data collection. In the offline case, when you do the field survey, when you go to the field with your questions and you float that questions, in that case, you will see, the most of the people are like, uh, you have this opportunity to instruct them at the time of data collection, right? Okay, please do not copy it from anywhere, and any question does not mean anything. You need to reflect your true self, and it will not be disclosed. So sometimes it has been seen that offline, in some way, becomes more effective, because there you can control the reactions of the people, right? So this is the second problem of the survey. The third problem is sometimes we talk about the researcher bias, right? So that means sometimes the researcher frame the questions in a way that it reflects his or her own opinion. For example, suppose if I am a environmental conservationist, for example, if I am an environmental activist, so and if I'm designing the questions, more of the questions are like environmental, buying environmental friendly products is really good, it's really helpful, it's really it should be done. So sometimes the researcher, those who is conducting the research, his own opinion may come up, which we need to look after. That it should not be come up in the research. The next problem comes in the sampling, right? So you will study in your next sections about the sampling, but sampling should be proper. right? It should represent the entire society. It should represent the entire population which you are really looking to. Otherwise, if you are collecting the data from a wrong sample, so your sales may not be that viable, right? For example, if you're collecting the sample about buying of a expensive product from the people who have a very less disposable income, right? So maybe the findings which you get may not be applicable for your own sample, and maybe you are getting the findings that they are really ready to buy, but in reality the sale will not happen, or you may get the findings that they are not ready to buy, but in reality there is a great demand for that particular product in that particular category, right? So this is like the survey research, which is the one form of quantitative research. And once we get the responses, we code them 1 to 5, 1 to 10. We enter the data into some file, some Excel file, or there are softwares like SPSS. We enter the data and then we try to do the analysis. Nowadays, a lot of analysis are happening with the help of R and Python also, because SPSS is also you need to pay something, right? It's the paid version, whereas R and Python basic versions of them are really free, and you can do any kind of analysis with the help of these softwares as well. Second one is like experimental research. So the survey research means we are asking from the respondent to describe the things, right? But here we are not controlling anything. In the experimental research, we are doing some experiment, doing some cause and effect relationship. So here we can control the variables which might be interfering, right? So for example, maybe you want to do a eye tracking study, maybe in a proper room, you will make the participants sit there, and then you will show the advertisement, and then with the help of the eye tracking device, you will you will try to observe the change in the pattern of their eyes, right? Whether they are shrinking, whether when they are the eyeballs when they are expanding, what is the movement, what is the motion, and all these different kind of things. Okay. Experimental is like when we are controlling the situations. So here you have called them in a specific room. Now, if there is a light in that room, maybe their reflection may go, their eye movement may go some notice to something to the light. Maybe some other people are also present in the room, so maybe they will notice them after seeing the advertisement. So maybe you will. So all these external things you have to control. So experimental research is like when we are doing some specific treatment and to a particular group, and maybe some non-specific treatment to the other group, and then we try to compare them, right, and come up with this kind of things. So nowadays, experimental research is very popular. For example, if suppose you may have seen that a lot of companies may come up with different kind of their websites, and in this website they have different kind of designs which are plotted maybe on a different sides of the screen, so where you will see more, right? For example, I'm taking a class in the Google, right? Google Meet. So the Google Meet may come up with some sort of experiment that where the presenter face should be there when he is presenting something. It should come in the middle, it should come on the side, it should come on the top, right? Similarly, advertisement company also decide a lot of things. So all these things are done by the research, experimental research, where we try to see where is, you go to a retail store, and then you will see some of the products are just lying in front of your eyes, maybe your eye level. So what the person is really noticing first, either are they noticing the things which are at their eye level, or they are noticing the things which might be on the upper side, or which might be on the lower side, or where to move, right? Either to go to the left or to right. So all these things, can be tackled better with the help of the experimental research. So in the cases when it is really necessary to, in practicality, in the cases where it is really necessary to control some of the disturbing factors, we need to go with the experimental research, right? Otherwise, we can go with the survey research. But if you feel, no, these are the intervening factors, these are the factors, or these are the situations which can interfere with the research, or maybe we need to remove that. So in that case, we are bound to use the experimental research. Otherwise, we cannot get the true answers, right? For example, if you want to see the effectiveness of advertisements, अब उसको आप सर्वे से नहीं करा सकते ना, आपने कहा how effective the advertisement is, yes or no, you can do it. But when you are seeing the advertisement, people use a different kind of a method. Sometimes they call with a recall method, right? For example, you randomly select a person and simply ask, uh, or maybe you will show them the advertisements, and after half an hour, then you will ask what are the things that they still remember about this particular advertisement. And and you will ensure that in these 30 minutes they have not seen any other visual, any other advertisement, they have not attended any other phone call, so their the attention span remain the same. So, you know, we use experimental research in these cases, and nowadays all the top marketing outlet, if you talk about, or all the top management journals even, they are focusing on experimental research. Whether you talk about Journal of Marketing Science, consumer psychology, which are considered as the top three or among the top five outlets in marketing, they all are focusing more and more on the experimental research, and the same thing is going on the other management domains as well, right? Now, so these are the, you can say, the quantitative research. Now comes to the qualitative research. Qualitative research is something which is very interesting, which is very useful also. And here you can see, it's like here we try to find it out, the complex things. We try to observe the people. We try to come up with, why a person is behaving in that way. What can be the reason? What are the between the word things, right? Sometimes you have to do the observation. Sometimes you have to live with the people in that particular society to come up with the real findings. And many people says that qualitative research is uh, very much effective in the cases whereas quantitative measurement is not possible. Or some people say, it actually complement quantitative, the measures, the quantitative numbers, right? And we can get some more insight, some more information on the basis of that. So the historical origin for it comes from different domains like anthropology, sociology, humanities, and obviously the human evaluation, right? And now, what are the different kind of qualitative research? If you look at here, you can see narrative research, phenomenology, grounded theory, ethnographics, and case study. So, just briefly, I'm discussing about them. Uh, Now, narrative research, here, researcher studies the lives of individual and ask one or more individuals to provide stories about their lives, right? So then this information is again retold or restoried by the researcher, right, in different chronologies. And then the narrative, we at the end we try to combine the narratives from all the participant life, and then try to come up with a collaborative narrative. So this kind of a research is used basically when you have seen, for example, you want to do a research on how this a particular maybe a particular disaster may happen, right? And you want to see how this disaster has affected, or how the things has happened, and how the disaster has really affected the mankind. So, or the people, those who are living in this area. So maybe you go there, you talk to the people, you talk about their stories, that what has happened, why it has happened, and then you come up with one narrative. Then you may ask from the other people, right? Uh, it dep- and you try to cover all the sections of the society, the different domains from the different social strata, maybe different, the geographical area within that particular combined state or the market or the city, right? And then we come up with a combined view of the narrative. So this kind of approach you may have seen in a lot of news channels, right? Where you may have seen that the news reporters go and something happens, something good or bad happens, the news, you can see the people go, they ask about from let's say 100 people, 110 people, right? Or maybe you can see some of the BBC documentaries and so on, and then they come up with one combined narrative, one collaborative narrative. Yes, these are the things, how the sequence of things has happened, and then you can really provide a narrative or a research or a storyline about it, that how the things has really happened and how it has really impacted the life of the people. So this is the first kind of a qualitative research. So here we take the stories from the individuals, different individuals, number of individuals, combine them, and then we come up with our combined narratives. Then the second one is like phenomenological research, right? So this is like here we are combining the philosophy and psychology, right? So here we say that the experiences of individuals are a phenomena which is described by the participant, right? Uh, so here, rather than going through this a narrative method, where we are asking the stories from so many people, uh, where we are asking the stories from so many people, what we do, we simply go and simply ask from some individuals who have really experienced or who has really, who really knows the things, right? So we select certain individuals और उनकी जो life story होती है और उनका जो experience होता है, we narrate it as a story rather than combining the narratives of all the people. And it is basically used when we are, uh, when we are combining the different kind of methods, when we are combining different kind of functions, and when it is really important to see that the things are not good. I'm busy till 3:30, right? Okay. So so this is how when we can look for, right? So then rather than asking from the survivor of a disaster, we may simply ask questions from some of the journalists who have discovered that, right? Or maybe some of the people, those who were there at that point of time. So this is known as the phenomenological research. Third is very important, very, very, very important, and one of, you can say, the main essence of the research approach is grounded theory, right? So this is like a design of inquiry. Hello,
अच्छा
am I audible?
हमारा क्रिश का मैं लगाऊं क्या फोन
There is some disturbances coming. Am I audible or hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible. The person has been muted.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So now when we are talking about the grounded theory, so this is like, here we try to form a theory, right? अब कैसे हम उस theory को develop कर सकते हैं, and how we can, form the from an idea and process and so on. So it basically start with the field visits, field notes. You observe something, you put a note on that, and then you try to validate it, and then you try to propose something, or you try to propose a theory, right? So this is in which researchers drive a general abstract theory of process, action, or interaction on the views of the participant. So here we use multiple stages of data collection and the refinement, and then we come up with the theory. So for example, suppose you have to build a theory, right? And maybe you simply go and you simply ask a lot of participants that what are their views about fashion. Okay, so now you started taking the field note. Some person may say, okay, sir, fashion is this, fashion is lifestyle, fashion is a trend, fashion is a pattern, and this pattern repeat itself. You can see the fashion of 1990 has repeated in 2000, or maybe the early 90s. It has repeated in 2015. The same tapered jeans people are wearing in 1970. People used to wear ball bottom, which was like very popular in early 2000, right? So maybe, and then you take a field notes, then you try to accumulate the information, then you try to again recollect that, then you come up with some proposition. Now the proposition is like the fashion repeat itself, right? Now you again go and talk to the people from some different areas. They also maybe they can also confirm your views. Yes, the fashion repeat itself, and then maybe you can do some sort of further data collection, further talk to the people, maybe from the different domain, maybe from the different categories, maybe then you can take the interviews of some of the the fashion experts, and what are their views, how they design fashion, right? How they predict that what will be the new trend in coming 6 months, and maybe on the basis of that, then maybe you can come up with some theory, like theory of repetition of fashion, which says the fashion repeat itself after in cycles in after a particular number. So this is not a theory. I've just come up with this thing just to make you understand, right? So the grounded theory is like where we take the field notes, we try to observe, we try to get a lot of findings, and on the basis of that we build a theory. If we talk about the Maslow functional in the need hierarchy theory, if we talk about the functional need or the social need or the security need, so they all have come up when he has collected the information from so many people. Then what is important for you? Why do you do the job? What is the main thing that you are looking into the job? You can look at his the paper. I think it was written in 1960. Google पे आप लोग search कीजिएगा and you will see that how he has he has talked to so many people. He has refined the data again in 3 or 4 stages. He has collected the data and then he come up with his theory, which becomes quite popular. Right. So this is the approach of grounded theory. Then ethnography. It is also a very interesting field of research. So here, rather than discretely going and observing the people, what the researchers do, they try to go to a place and try to live with the people, live with the participants, and try to understand their pattern, their language, their behavior, their culture. Guys, can you mute yourself? Okay. So here, the researchers, they try to live with the people, right? So maybe you have seen a lot of documentaries in which people are doing the research on some sort of a culture dimension, maybe in some village or maybe with some tribal people, those who are living in the tribal areas. And then you have seen that the way they go there, they live with the people, they try to understand their language, their culture, they try to be a part of it, right? So this is known as the ethnographic research. Again, you may have seen a lot of BBC documentaries in which you have seen that how the people share the different kind of language and the culture things with the people, and then they come up with this, right? So here we try to study the shared pattern of behavior, language, and actions of a different kind of a culture group in a natural setting over a prolonged period of time. So basically, in ethnography, usually the people live for 6 months or more, right? So at least 6 months should be you are living with the people there, maybe in their village, maybe the way they are living, right? So you are trying to adopt their lifestyle, and then obviously, and on a daily basis, then you try to build your notes, and on the basis of the notes, then you will come up with your final research findings. So this is right, and it is really very much adopted for some of the unexplored areas, maybe in some of the unexplored tribes, maybe in some of the unexplored people, and so on, to understand their different kind of things. So this is known as the ethnography. Then, so ethnography, lot of BBC documentaries, you can go and you can see, you will realize that how fruitful this method is, right? Then case studies, see management domain or social science domain, you can say, we have derived something or the other from the various different streams, right? Psychology, philosophy, sociology, and so on. Similarly, this kind of a research we have derived from the medicine, the medical science, right? So as the medical science refer on cases in describing the prescriptions, in describing the type of remedy or the type of the treatment that need to be given. Similarly, here in the case study research, we try to come up with a design of inquiry found in many fields, and we do the in-depth analysis of case, the particular type of situation, event, activity, process, and obviously it is bound by time and researches, right? So for example, if you see, so for example, if a company has to introduce a new product, right? And if they are looking for the timing of the new product installation, maybe they can refer to they can do the research, and on the basis of the research, they can refer to the what the other companies has done during that period of time, right? And how they have come up with what are the challenges that they have found it out. So here, rather than doing the study by ourselves, we are relying on the well-established cases, which can save our time, save our money, as well as it can give us a lot of insights about how the things has happened. So it is really helpful for some of the small companies, or maybe in some of the crucial situations in which you want to, you want to be error free, right? You do not want to conduct any mistake because it can cost you a lot of things. So then comes the mixed method design, guys. So mixed method, as the name itself suggests, it is like when we are integrating both qualitative as well as the quantitative research together, and the idea is to uh, reach to the problem, right? To go to the core of the problem and then come up with the different kind of things. So qualitative data tend to be open-ended without a predetermined responses, while quantitative data usually involve closed-ended responses, right? So here, for example, suppose nowadays you look at the research papers, research articles, and you will see most of the research articles which are publishing on a top-tier journal, they are kind of a mixture of methods. Either they are experimental, or maybe they are survey based along with some sort of a qualitative data, right? A lot of new tools and techniques has also come up, like sentiment analysis, like bibliometric analysis, which can set a base and then you can do a quantitative research further, right? So for example, suppose you want to see again, going with the same example, suppose you want to see the impact of corporate social responsibility on firm's image, right? One is firm's image, the impact of corporate social responsibility on firm's image, or maybe firm's market share. Let's talk about. Okay. So now one thing is like you can you interview the different kind of experts. You talk to the experts, so you get their word views, right? What these experts are saying, and on the basis of that, then you can design, and then you can come up with okay, and they have their own opinions. Yes, CSR is good. It really reflects a very good image, which can help us in forming a good relationship with the government, or which can help us in creating a better image in the market, which can translate into the sales. And second, then you can simply conduct a questionnaire. You can float it to, let's say, the employees of that organization, where you, and once your information is get there, you can measure the image, right? Where you can have the questions like, they feel that the company is perceived better. They feel that the company image has improved. They feel that the people have started talking positive about the company. So these are the dependent variable or the market image that we can talk about. So in this way, we can club both qualitative and quantitative research, and this is what is in demand in nowadays. When we publish a lot of articles, right, and then when we try to tap the more popular ones, which are having a very you can say a good impact factor, or maybe which are in the A category journals in ABDC ranking or some other articles, most of they look for the rigor in the methods, right? They say that you need to complement it with some sort of a qualitative data also, if it's a quantitative study, or maybe some sort of a quantitative study if it's a qualitative data, maybe come up with mixed methods. The more rigor should be there. It can reflect the more process. So now mixed method design are also of three types. First is convergent parallel mixed methods. So here we are doing both the things together, right? That means at a one time we are doing qualitative research also, we are doing quantitative research also, and then we try to merge them in some way or the other, right? So maybe you are taking some interviews regarding the impact of COVID on the economy. On the second hand side, maybe you have floated a questionnaire, and the people are really filling the responses, and then you are coming up with this model, right? So here both the things are done together, qualitative as well as quantitative. Explanatory sequential mixed method, guys. So here we are try to focus on this word explanatory, that means which explains something, right? So here the researchers look, first we do not do it together. We first conduct quantitative research, analyze the result, and then build on the result to explain them in more detail with the qualitative research. So for example, suppose I have done, suppose if I do a research on why the people are, why the people of IT companies are leaving or why the employees of IT companies are living so much, or why there is such a, you can say today is like more than 20% of a turnover rate is there, or churn rate is there in the IT firms. So maybe one reason can be, so, if I have to conduct research on this topic, maybe I can start simply with asking some survey questions from the employees. I can identify the employees. I can send them the questions. They will come up with the questions, and I will ask them questions. And then on the basis of that, I will get the responses, and then I will try to explain the responses. And then now I get the responses. The responses can be like, I build a model, maybe some correlation, regression, structured application modeling, something I have used. And now I'm getting three things like, it is because of better opportunities. Second, it is because of, the better, or you can say not that good work environment. Maybe it is because of the less salary on the sector, maybe because of the sector stagnation. The four variables I have come up with. Now, again, I can talk to, let's say, 4 or 5 experts of the industry to please elaborate on this method, right? So they can again elaborate on these methods, that what it really mean, right? How they can really come up with these 4 things, and then they will discuss any retention rate is because of the better job opportunities, and all others are like not hold that much of importance, and then, or maybe some other variables are also holding the importance. So here, to grab into the situations, we can do, right? You may have seen the new channels also do it, right? They conduct a lot of survey, and then they call a lot of experts, and then they try to analyze the findings. So now, explanatory. Whenever we are talking about explanation, qualitative provides the explanation. So qualitative comes later, right? Explanatory means qualitative comes later. Exploratory, when we are really exploring the things. So here, what we do, qualitative come first, right? So here, the qualitative research phase comes first. We explore the views of the participant, and then we do the quantitative phase, or we analyze the quantitative data, right? So here, sometimes when we need to build some insights into the qualitative data, or for example, a lot of variables are there. There can be many reasons because of which something is happening, or the other might be the things, right? So for example, again, if we are talking about the sales of the electric products in India, so one thing can be like, you come up with the experts, and experts may come up with like the sales is less because of the price of the electric vehicles are high. Second can be, the infrastructure is developing, and the government is really pushing very hard. They are really doing a great job with FAME 1 and FAME 2, but it still need to be developed further. People are not really sure about the reliability of the, or you can say the cars, how they will perform in the longer run, right? So now these 3-4 things that you have come up with the exploratory. Now further, you want to really see how much one variable is impacting the other, right? That what is the impact of the high prices, or what is the impact of this? We can say the improper infrastructure, or what is the impact of the quality of the car. These 3 things, and then we can do survey, ask from the respondent, done a regression, and from this beta value, then we can say yes. Okay, now these, maybe we can say the prices are the main reason, right? People are really ready to buy it, but the prices are so high. Maybe that is the reason, or maybe the price may not be the reason, because people may feel that over the period of time the prices may go down, but the improper infrastructure may be the reason, or it can be like the quality is the reason. People are really not sure that how they will perform in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So this is like exploratory. So we have these 3 types, and these 3 types, when again mixed with each other, then they come up with like transformative mix method. So here, as we have used in transformative worldview, transformative mix method means we are using the method with a lens to provide social justice, right? Embedded means when we are combining both, and multi-phase is also like when we are using the different kind of strategy. So you can say when we are combining these convergent, explanatory, and exploratory in different combinations, we come up with these three different kind of words, right? So if you look at the snapshot of these three approaches, so they are like, these are like qualitative, these are the values, constructivist, transformative knowledge, phenomenology, grounded theory, ethnographic. Here, the idea is come up with open-ended questions, emerging approaches. Here, quantitative, post-positive knowledge, survey and experiment, closed-ended questions, pragmatic knowledge, sequential, concurrent, and transformative, and so on. Right. So I will share the slides. You can further look for the different. I have already explained them. It's just a snapshot, and then you can look for it. So now, some of the concepts which we will cover very fast. Right. Okay. So guys, along with these research approaches, we have some approaches based on the reasoning, right? We can say the reasoning based approaches, and they are more apt for when we are talking about the qualitative data. So these approaches are like deductive approach and inductive approach. I think you may have heard about them. Whenever we talk about the argument, also we use deductive argument, inductive argument. So how they are and what they use, right? So deductive approach, may we already have a theory, and then on the basis of the theory we try to bifurcate this theory to come up with our findings. So, and we try to come up with the explanation. So this works like this: we have a theory. Suppose you want to confirm Maslow need hierarchy theory, whether it really holds to your sample or not, right? So you have come up with theory, and on the basis of theory then you have come up with the hypothesis, four hypotheses, like the functional value, impact mode, then comes the security value, social value, self-esteem, and so on. And then you will do the observation. And if the observation and confirming your basic propositions, you will say, I am confirming. So this is a top-down approach. We also say it as, right? And here we test theory. So the name is deductive. We are deducting something. We are driving something from the theory. So theory is already there, right? Something is already said. We are just trying to check it. Whether it is really happening or not. People say the law of demand is there. If the prices go up, demand go down. If the prices go down, demand go up. You want to check it with your customers. Maybe you can do an experimental research. आप price बढ़ाते हो, देखते हो कि क्या demand कम है, या price घटाते हो, देखते हो कि demand ज़्यादा है, or when the demand can be optimized, right? So on the basis of that, either you can confirm the theory or you can oppose the theory. There is a many criticism of different kind of theories. When we are doing a research, we try to align our objectives with some sort of a theory, and you will see today we are proposing one theory. After 10 years, another theory will come, and they will approach the existing theory. No, this is not right. We are not finding these kind of findings, right? So this is known as the deductive research approach. So here we have existing theory, and then what procedures we do, we try to get the data, and then we try to see whether the pattern are matching or not, and then we provide the explanation. If we are confirming the theory, if our findings are as per with the theory, then it's fine. If it is not, then maybe we provide the reason why findings are not as per the theory, right? Deductive research approach, it's like when we have theory, which translate into hypothesis, which translate into observation, and then we try to confirm it, right? So this is the deductive approach that we talk about. Now, inductive is like grounded theory, where we try to build the theory. Yeah, as I have already explained, you can say the theory of repetitive fashion. So here we seek to build up a theory which is adequately grounded in number of relevant cases, and then we can come up with. So how the procedure? Field text. So we can observe the different kind of things. Then we make the different kind of notes. Then we try to interpret them, and then we try to put it there. So it goes like this. We have observations. You have noted something. You note it down. Then from the observations, you try to find out the pattern. What are the patterns that is coming up? And then on the basis of tentative hypothesis, and then you try to test this hypothesis with some sort of empirical data, and the theory will come up. So for example, observations. Now suppose say I have this observation that the fashion repeat itself, right? And then I ask with an n number of people, and they also say the same thing. From the responses, I got this pattern. Okay, fashion repeat itself. Let's say after every 10 years. I'm getting more specific. So now I will form the hypothesis. First hypothesis can be the fashion repeat itself after every 10 years, or time, manipulate the fashion, right? These two theories I have come up with. Now I again run the data. I get the answers. I will use some sort of a mathematical tool. I will try to validate my hypothesis, right? Similarly, I may do the same thing in some other markets also with some other customer segments. And when it come up, then I can build up the theory. So theory building is like which is definitely tough, because here you need to be, you know, theory testing is easy, either in positive or in criticism. But theory development is tough because nobody will buy our idea until or unless we have done a very rigorous research or we have collected data from so many people. अगर हमने नहीं किया है डाटा कई सारे लोगों से कलेक्ट or in the different market, so it is not done in a one phase कि आपने you just go and you just collected the data from, let's say, the Indian people in a particular state or in a particular market, and then you come up with the findings, right? This is not a way. Maybe you have to do it cross culturally, maybe you have to do this at a global level, maybe at a different levels, and then you have to propose this theory, and then the theory will be again tested by the different researchers. आपने theory propose कर दी, अब बाकी researchers then they adopt this deductive approach, they test this theory, और कई बार जब ये theory confirm हो जाती है, number of times when this theory will be confirmed, then we can say that this is acceptable, and then it come up and your textbooks, which is widely used for the management education, or maybe by the practitioners. Like, for example, theories as a scientific principle management theory is very popular, right? Maslow need theory, MBO, management by objectives. They are very popular because they have been really used. Jagdish said he has given this theory of consumer behavior, which is also known as the stimulus response model, right? And which also becomes highly popular, right, over the period of time. So these are the different kind of research approaches which we use. And just a step thought, like some issues that we get in the process, especially in the quantitative research process. So applied research is like action-oriented research. This is very much useful when we are solving the real problem. So maybe some companies giving you a problem, their sales may not be happening. They might not be getting a good customer satisfaction score. So you will analyze it, and then how you will solve it. It is known as the applied research. Rigor is important because until or unless you will do the in-depth investigation, the research results may not be true, and if they may not be true, then maybe it will be difficult for you to really get a hold of it, right? And to find it out the logical reasoning which can really work well. Control. Now, in some of the research, we need to control variables. In some of the research, the control is not required. For example, if you are exposing a television advertisement to some participants, maybe the control is required. It may not be required in some other cases. So if you see in survey research, mostly they are uncontrolled, right? So in research setting, it's uncontrolled, but we try to remove the researcher bias, which I have already explained with you, or self-response bias, in which the participant is giving good responses to be socially desirable or to give socially favorable responses. Experimental research, highly controlled, eyeball tracking, neuromarketing, in which we try to, measure the variation in the brain waves, the different kind of a brain, and then we try to see, how it happened. For example, Disney, they always use this experimental neuro concept in their, in their documentaries, in their movies, right? For example, even if you watch any of the animated Disney movie, you will realize that even if there is a fire scene, you will not feel threatened, right? Otherwise, in a normal movie, they try to make it more and more, more and more realistic, so that the people can get a feel of it. In Disney, they try to see the emotions. They do this neuromarketing ki okay, बच्चों को movie दिखाना है, they should not feel frightened. So what they will call many kids as a test marketer, or maybe many other individuals, with the help of neuromarketing, they will see, how their expressions are changing when the scene of fire is coming up, or when the scene of some sort of a disaster is coming up. Are they laughing? Are they smiling? Are they happy? Are they unhappy? So in a similar way, they will realize that there is some sort of a uncontrolled, and if their respondents are really feeling fearful or they are really afraid, then obviously they will try to make it more subtle, try to remove that or decrease the intensity, right? So this is like in the experimental research, which is used, and that's why all the movies are so widely accepted. Then we talk about these extraneous variables. Extraneous variables, guys, they are like, in research, you are trying to find it out the impact of some variables. Variables means some constructs. Constructs means like, you know, uh, the concept which you are measuring, right? Some variables on the dependent variable, and you will see that many other variables will interfere. So they are all known as the extraneous variables, right? So influence of extraneous variables, we need to be very careful. है ना, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने डाटा लिया, आपको देखना है कि इनकम का क्या इम्पैक्ट होता है, राइट, और या क्या रीजन है अदर देन इनकम. So income you have to control that, or income will come as an extraneous variable. So these are the variables which really impact the people. Causality, when we have a cause and effect relationship between the variables, when I think these things are very basic, you all might be knowing, like multi-causality, when we have cause and effect relationship between various kind of variables. Now one problem is also there which is happening, and because of which the new software such as MOS structure equation modeling has come up. So here on one side we have independent variables, one side we have dependent variables, and in usually in the case of regression we check the impact of these independent variables on the dependent variables. This is how it works, right? Now it is also happening that these independent variables might also be affecting each other. ये भी इसको affect कर रहा है, this is also affecting each other, right? For example, electric vehicle adoption, we have independent variables: awareness, price, and maybe the infrastructure. And the dependent variable is sales of electric vehicles. Now it might be possible that the availability of infrastructure may also be impacting the awareness, which is an independent variable. So now it's become very hazy in that case. So that's why we have come up with the tools such as structure equation modeling, SAM, which is very popularly used since 2000, after 2010 onwards, mostly. The idea is because it can simultaneously measure the entire thing and then it can nullify the impact. Like bias, now a lot of bias are there in the research, which actually make the research ineffective, right? So here we need to control these bias, whether these are the researcher's bias or the respondent bias or the self-response bias, because it distort the findings. I've already discussed the various ways with you. You can shuffle the questionnaire so that the people cannot copy with each other, or they should not get that this particular thing is asking by the people, right? For example, if I ask two questions to you, you will understood what will be the third question, right? I will ask, okay, do you think the environmental protection is good? Do you think that you should buy environmental friendly product? And the third question I will ask you, you already know that I'm talking about environmental protection, and you are already defensive that I should say yes, right? Whereas when you are, when you are changing the order of or you're shuffling the questions, it's become very difficult to actually analyze that what the researchers are really want to ask. So first question can be whether the environmentally friendly products are good. The second question can be, our consumption behavior may impact the environmental protection. So here you are not able to find it out the logic, right? So rotation, requesting the people to not copy it from each other is there. So these are the reasons: researcher, environmental component, individual subjects, measurement tools, data collection process. Yes, I think these all will be discussed when you are doing the sampling in some of your classes. Sometimes manipulation, especially in the experimental research, we do manipulations where we try to, control one variable or, keep the other variables free so that we can get the impact of the things. Okay, guys, I think I'm on time. So this is the inductive and directive research approach, and this is one way of it, right? Looking at way of it. So this is, you can see, this is like deductive research where we have hypothesis. We already theory से निकल के hypothesis आ गए हैं. We are doing study. We are doing the study on data. Or grounded theory, we have studied data and then we are building the theory, right? So that's from my side. I think we are on time. I have not taken any extra time from you guys. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the lovely session. This was, like I should say, you gave a broader spectrum of all the approaches which can be used. And again, I would say that this gave us a broad glimpse of how many research methods are there, what are like things we can use, what are things to be considered while doing a research, and everything. You gave the audience a basic glimpse about what would be coming up in their next sessions and what all things they should keep in mind. Thank you so much, sir, for all these informations. And it was glad having you here in the session. Hope to see you in the next coming session. We have 2 more sessions with Yatish, sir, and we are looking forward to have you in both the sessions again.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for your words, and I congratulate everyone, and I wish that this program will really be very successful.
Thank you
And,
so much, sir.
Thank you. So I'm leaving now. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will share the
Have
PPT with you or the other organizers, so you can
Sure,
share with.
sir.
Students.
Sure, sir. Will do.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Requesting all the participants to fill the feedback and quiz. Both the links are being shared in the chat box. Please fill both the things, and we'll be starting with the next session sharp at 4 p.m. The